All right, we've reached our last problem of the study guide. Congrats. So we're looking at number 20, and this again is an absolute value inequality. So common thing I see again, people make mistakes here is that if you got this wrong, you might have added 9 plus 10 together to get 19. We can't do that. This 10 is essentially being multiplied by what's inside of here. We can't just add on a 9. We're completely changing on the problem. So I want to get this absolute value completely isolated. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract the 9. So now I've got 10, absolute value 3 plus 6n is greater than or equal to 30. Now from here, I still want to get this completely isolated. So I'm going to divide each side by 10. And now I'll have absolute value 3 plus 6n is greater than or equal to 3. Okay. Now, since it's completely isolated, I do want to separate this into two separate inequalities. So my first one will just be 3 plus 6n is greater than or equal to 3. And then for the second one, it's going to be negative 3, so that means I need to switch the sign. So over here, I'll have 3 plus 6n is less than or equal to negative 3. And then I need to just simply go through and solve. So this will be 6n is greater than or equal to 0, which we know then will be n is greater than or equal to 0. And then over here, both of these end up being pretty nice numbers. N will be less than or equal to negative 1. Okay, so now I have to go back and think, is this an and or an or problem? If you think about like our tips and tricks, this is just like the last problem, number 19. This is a great or problem. But even if you forgot that, we can still graph it out and be able to figure out which one it is. Okay, so I'm going to graph this out. These numbers are pretty close together, but I have negative 1 and I have 0. I know that n is going to be greater than or equal to 0. So that's shading this direction. And I know that n is going to be less than or equal to negative 1. So that's shading this way. So we can clearly see that this is an or problem. We want to make sure we go back and add that or. I would probably have it right away so I don't forget it, but you need that or in there. And so this would be our final answer. And you are all done with your study guide.